of the de-dollarized Zimbabwe dollar economy. It looks like a self-contradiction. It's a de-dollarized, we are the most de-dollarized economy in the world because the US dollars we have are ours. They are not coming from Washington as a gift. There's no plane, believe you me, with fries from the Federal Reserve Bank in New York with a signature from Joe Biden saying, President Mnangagwa, I'm allocating you so many US dollars for your country. No. It doesn't happen like that. Young people dig gold, young people grow tobacco, young people grow, farmers grow blueberries, the tourists come to Victoria Falls, and now we are exporting coking coal, we are exporting steel, we started exporting steel, we will do more with it. So there is a Zimbabweans at work earning the US dollars, which this country is using as a transactional money. So I repeat again, we are the most de-dollarized economy, and it has helped us because of that robustness of the economy to fight one of the worst scourges of hunger, which would have stalked this nation in 47 years of seasons, continuous seasons. So again, pam to President Mnangagwa, pam to his party for innovative solutions, pam to his government for effecting those solutions, and pam to our business community for responding to the challenge, and pam to our people who are the most organized society on the African continent for fighting the drought in an original manner. And then, rather than use government funds to import food, whilst we opted for private money to import food, where did government money go for food relief? We have the largest harvest of crop of wheat in the country. So here is another grain which would not have been part of the diet of Zimbabweans in face of the challenge. And we focused this week, this year, this season, we focused on irrigated wheat. And even with the challenges of power, we braved through, and a record 540,000, if not more, maybe 506,000 tons of wheat, 2/3 beyond our national consumption, was delivered to our grain coffers in the country. Wheat is more expensive than maize, and it can fetch a price on the world market. But wheat can also be given to our people. Bread consumption is going high, and there's nothing which can stop the distribution of wheat and other small grains to rural people to stave off hunger. So we saved the money, the government, a huge import bill, not only the direct purchase of the wheat, but the logistics to bring it from far off lands to Zimbabwe, and then the cost of distributing it among Zimbabweans. Why am I dwelling at this at length? I am talking of a president who is a doer, who thinks well ahead of his peers in many aspects, who minds the history of this country to go back to the future of solutions which nobody would have imagined. A man who has scanned the resource capacity of Zimbabwe and is pulling from his head like rabbits solutions which always are a panacea to the challenges facing at a particular time. He is the ideological driver of ZANU PF. He is the thinker who is making all this possible, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe. But beyond that, he is a doer. And that should be no surprise because of his history. A doer who becomes the pioneer, to become the first to be trained to set up what would be the future Zimbabwe Defense Forces. He went out under ZAPU. We have just buried our national hero, Comrade Mpoko. That was originally, he was always a ZAPU kid. President Mnangagwa left in the 1964 or something like that as a ZIPRA cadre. Then there were the unfortunate developments where we gave the world a divided liberation movement. He decided to shift to ZANU during exile and was mentored by none other than the most illustrious son of Zimbabwe in terms of revolutionary theory, Chairman Herbert Chitepo. He is the one who deployed Comrade Mnangagwa to China to be among the first cadres to be trained in people's warfare, asymmetrical warfare, where you use the advantage of the population numbers to offset the mobility, weaponry, and other advantages of the enemy. So he was the first student of Chairman Mao and the theory of guerrilla warfare. Not only student, but trained in China at that particular time. He would go back, get arrested, get captured, spend years in jail, on death row, come back in 1974 when the war which he had ignited, helped ignite, he had acquired a qualitative lead through Tongogara with the Northeast Fund campaign, where we cooperated with Frelimo, and the war was now implanted. And it is that war which freed him from jail. He would have died in gallows. But the war had become so effective that it could make demands on the Rhodesian racists. And one of the demands was the freedom of the nationalists and the imprisoned guerrillas. And he was one of those to be freed. And for a very short duration, he again worked with Chairman Herbert Chitepo in Zambia as his special assistant. They renewed an old acquaintance, one who had not been in exile but had been in jail, and the other one who had remained in exile as an intellectual revolutionary driver of the formation of ZANU PF, linking up with Frelimo in the Northeast campaign, which saw the implantation of a permanent Zimbabwean military presence in Zimbabwe. Remember, we had lost in 1893, Lobengula lost. We lost in 1896, 97, Changamire, Mtekeza, Mashaya Mombe, Mtekeza, from Makoni, Chingaira, they had lost, so we had no army. For more than 60 to 80 years, we had no army. So we reformed that army. So he became part of that army, and it implanted itself later under the auspices of Chairman Chitepo and Comrade Tongogara. I am not overlooking the other contributions which were coming from our other fighting wing, which was ZIPRA, the positional warfare in Nwangi, and the relationship with the ANC. I'm trying to trace this history so that you can fully appreciate where our president has come from to be where he is today. Chitepo gets killed, Tongogara comes back from jail, freed by that war, and Comrade Mnangagwa rejoins the war. You don't go to war twice if you're a coward. He rejoins the same war now in Maputo, and it had taken a second, let's say third qualitative leap, where huge numbers of young people left the school registers empty all over the country to join that war, inspired by Frelimo, but going to Mozambique because they knew they had an army which was hosted in Mozambique, which would train them to be fighters. So the time to the learning curve was very steep. The time to market was very short. And by 1975, we reignited the war, and the Rhodesians were at their knees. Again, we went for talks, and out of that talks, President Mnangagwa would come from Geneva to assume the post of special advisor to the new President Mugabe. This is in recognition of the men's historical association with the National Liberation Movement. And when he comes back to Maputo, he reorganizes particularly our Security and Intelligence Department. He jigs up the operations of the army under the aegis of General Tongogara. And in 1980, we notched victory with the Lancaster House talks, and he is the key advisor to President Mugabe as a lawyer at that Lancaster House. He comes back, he puts the ceasefire into motion, and is instrumental in the novel situation of integrating the three armies to make the professional army, which is the Zimbabwe Defense Forces today. A first in history where three antagonists or rival armies come together to be molded into one. A lot of work was done by President Mnangagwa in 1980 to make this possible. We had challenges where the former army commander was beginning to fold as the Rhodesians were trying to take advantage of the situation. This is the story of another day. But here we are. He becomes, again, the main architect of most of the reforms of the First Republic. He was behind the big fight to restore our land. He was behind the option of bringing in the Chinese as a local sort of capital. And I was deployed at his aegis. Of course, the President Mugabe was the ultimate appointee. I was deployed to China to carry out the Look East policy with him. So I worked with him. I'm talking about things I know, which I did. We reformed the tobacco farming system from auction to contract to allow the new beneficiaries of the land reform to have access to capital through a direct relationship with the merchant, bypassing a financial system which had benefited whites, which was refusing to fund the new farmers who had been benefiting from the land reform. Now, from 2006 to 2018, tobacco was the single most important foreign currency earner for Zimbabwe. The economy would rise up to September when the auction froze, and it would swoon from September until the next season. This is the crucial importance of tobacco, which farming, contract farming, which saved the land reform. If there had not been tobacco contract farming, the land reform would have been a commercial flop. I worked on the reforms to change the agricultural system from auction to contract with President Mnangagwa. I was in China, he was here at home, and the reforms were carried out to do the contract tobacco farming. Why am I saying it? Because I talked to you about our capacity to earn US dollars. So here's one of the crops which is earning the US dollars, tobacco. But King Tobacco fell to Emperor Gold in 2018. Again, it was President Mnangagwa who ascended mentally to the resolution of the war veterans of 2013. I was the chairman, so I know what I'm talking about at Mashimbo. We said, why does the government of Zimbabwe stop young people from digging gold? When the Mtapa Kingdom, which stretched from the Indian Ocean to the Atlantic, you know Mtapa, there were Mtapas in Angola. You go there, you find the Great Zimbabwe ruins, which you find on the Zimbabwean plateau. They are there in southern Angola. We were there, ruling the whole Zambezi Basin all the way, and the Portuguese actually signed a treaty with the Monomtapa, recognizing his empire when they came to Africa. So gold is in the vein of the Zimbabwe people. It is in our DNA, mining gold. But somehow the First Republic had lost sight of the ball. And when I went into cabinet in 2016, he supported me to allow young people to dig gold. And for the first time, Gondo Arisha Yaragatanga Satana Nisavana. kuchera gold. And today we have this beautiful golden beauty of nearly 20 to 30 tons coming from the SMEs, young people digging gold. Yes, it's a fledgling industry. It has still many challenges like all fledgling industry. We can work upon it to raise the qualitative aspect in mining, but you can't doubt the quantitative dimension which it has. Without SME gold, no ZIG, period. ZIG is not the product of suited young people who are in Samora Machel wearing suits in those lofty offices of theirs, who arbitrage gold and ZIG and US dollar. No, they are not the ones who are the backbone of ZIG. The ZIG's backbone is the young people who dig gold, of course, with the other commercial players, but also the tobacco farmers. And as we go along, there's the added beauty of more minerals coming into play. Lithium is coming, and lately, in the last 4 or 5 months, steel has kicked in. Now, everybody is hungry at a time, and your body begins to lose the energy to sustain you. Then you look for food, whether breakfast or lunch or dinner. Food is very important for the human body. Now, think differently. You are a country. Which is the most important commodity to a country? Steel. All the billionaires of the world, from the Industrial Revolution onwards, they are in the steel industry. The JP Morgans from America, the Carnegies from America, they are all steel magnates. They are still the Krupps and Thysens in Germany, they are all steel magnates. Steel is to nations what food is to human beings. So we had a steel industry. It was in his hometown, Craig. It was the victim of geopolitical assault by those who did not want to have Zimbabwe to continue to have steel because it must succumb to sanctions. Because steel is the spine. It is the spine of a country. And for more than a decade, President Mnangagwa assiduously worked to court the best possible steel magnate, private, in the world to come to Zimbabwe. And presto, we have the beautiful news that Manise started producing 4 or 5 months ago, starting with billets. Now it is doing, starting with pig iron. Now it is doing billets. And come this coming season, the first season, it will be rebar. The whole building here is done, supported by rebar steel. All the bridges are supported by rebar. This is where Zimbabwe is. That means yanking off an import bill of $400 million, if not more, has been yanked off. I'm saying this because the last Thursday and Friday, President Mnangagwa, among his many peripatetic movements across the country, ndogara nchitaura kuti ruoko rwawo rwaane mhoni nechigero chekukata maprojects makuru ari kuchinja nyika ino. Ndakutoti president nofunga dai vatoisirwa hameno kuti chigero chinokata automatic because zvakawandira from good project to another good project. And this time he was guest of honor at the Zimbabwe Steel Association in Kwekwe. You know that Kwekwe is the home of modern Zimbabwe steel. Not steel. Steel has always been the backbone of the Mtapa economy, gold and steel. That's why our blades in the 19th century, they were better than those produced in England, our steel blades. We were masters at steel. That's why we sustained Africa's longest empire for more than 8 centuries, the Mtapa Empire, because steel made us be productive and be more organized. So don't think steel comes with colonialism. No, because this is usually the fault of our warped history by young people who think that only Europe brought things to Zimbabwe. Steel was always ours. But modern steel starts in Kwekwe. And it was befitting homage that we had this Steel Association conference in Kwekwe. And as the highlight of the occasion, President Mnangagwa invited the chairman of Stinson Disco, which is the Tsingshan subsidiary in Manize, 150 kilometers away from here, to come and address the historical, the legacy steel merchants from Zisco, to say we are now going to give you a better quality product in huge quantities, virgin steel. We are now going to give it to you so that Muneita Mashura, as workers in the steel industry, as artisans in the steel industry, and as businessmen in the steel industry. So I told you earlier on, I reminded you of the importance of steel, that it is food to the development of the country. Now we have this cadreship carried over from Cisco. They are even reaching out to their diaspora colleagues who know how to make steel, who at Cisco, who have gone to other countries. In one of the distant countries, do you know where they went? Those who built the railway line from Harare to Dabuka. They went to British Rail. They have been manning British Rail Zimbabweans using the experience from Zimbabwe. And all of them are now clamoring to come back home. So they've had this continuous assimilation of latest steel techniques. They will come back home. They will meet the young people who have been at Manize, who run the largest steel workshop in Africa. All the edifice which you see at Manize was built by young Zimbabweans. The Chinese only came to be technicians to supervise. For every one Chinese, there was 10 Zimbabweans attached. They are the ones who built that structure. It came as raw steel from China and a little bit from South Africa. Even if you drive today from Zimbabwe and from Harare to Kwekwe, when you see that power line coming from Cebu, Sherwood to Manize, 100 kilometers, you can now imagine how Zimbabwe is poised to become part of the African free trade area, with the most important product of human development still being one of its commodities to sell. Africa needs power. It has got a lot of hydroelectric potential, it has got coal, it has solar, it needs transmission. I doubt if we get into the business of producing power pylons that anybody can beat Zimbabwe. And because the example is that line. And power lines will be needed all over Africa. I'm trying to make you understand that when the ZANU PF Congress conference in Bulawayo says, they are assessing the performance of a doer, an intelligent man who always finds innovative solutions based on the creative genius of the Zimbabwe people, and delivers those solutions for Zimbabwe people to free themselves from poverty and become part of the human progress. This is why there is a clamor by ZANU PF, the organs, all of them in the party, as well as the provinces, to say, President Wong Constitution in the 2028, Wong not in the Constitution, you want to end up in 2028. But there was a provision in the Constitution that if the membership can convince the electorate in 2028, Kuti President Gawa Remperi, we will be presenting you with the decision of the electorate to say, Muramba Kuramba Mchitonga, your electorate, Mutonga. It's not about the president demanding that he extends his term in 2028. No. That's why he says a constitution. He says, it's not my job, I'm done. And he repeats it all the time. But it doesn't take away the prerogative of the electorate under the provision of the Constitution to say that we want more of you because you have been doing wonders in terms of the development of Zimbabwe. You understand? He is a passive player, I repeat. He is not the one who demands a third term. The Constitution does not allow it. But the Constitution allows the electorate organized by a party like ZANU PF, which is enthusiastic about its leader, to revisit and give him, and I want him a third term. The onus is on the people through a referendum. It has nothing to do with the wishes of the president, who is fully compliant with the constitution as it stands. And there's no quarrel with the current constitution. He wrote it. He has done well. All these things I'm talking about, progress in the mining sector, the use of Mvudza and all these, he has done well to merit that kind of accolade from the population. But it's not for him to demand a third term. So we begin also to answer those who clamor for succession in ZANU PF. Tichangobva kuma elections in 2023, where he won resoundingly. Can you imagine a boardroom where somebody has been appointed CEO by the board, and then immediately is told that your successor is this one? She says, I'm ready too. Is it possible to run a company along those lines, where a CEO has been immediately seconded with a successor? It means you have created two centers of power in the company, and inevitably there will be contestation and allegiances by company workers listening to conflicting directives from two people. One who says, don't talk like that about what you want to do, because it may not be what I want when I become CEO. And this one is saying that I've been appointed CEO, I'm there to run the company. You must follow what I want. This is the scenario which ZANU PF is refusing by those who are trying to clamor for succession soon after an election. They want to turn a performing president into a lame duck because they are scared that he will perform and deliver even more. They want to hobble the president from delivering more by encumbering him with cobwebs of a successor who is beginning to have a mark sheet about the way it is performing. The party follows its tradition of achievement and success. They see danger in an arrangement where somebody is anointed a priori before the time, and the party is refusing. And it behoves on all those cadres who are genuine revolutionaries, or who are part of the genuine revolutionary tradition of Zimbabwe, to comply with the resolutions which were passed at the party congress in Bulawayo in October. Vari kungohumana vachiti hey tazoti hey tine wedu tazoti chichi. They are not part of the mainstream thinking of ZANU PF, which was expressed kumasvingo. They are latching on to the opinion of a particular lawyer. There are enough lawyers in this country. Yes, and all of them can have an opinion. But an opinion by a lawyer, even if he pronounces it at a conference, does not supersede the decisions of that conference. The conference is sovereign to its decisions. It's a master of its program, the conference. So nobody who has got a variant opinion can begin to say that is one. They don't want a conference. They had an opportunity, if they wanted to express the views which he did, to do it at the committee stage when we were having a conference. And munoita nharo kumakomiti ikoko muchitaura zvamunoita monzwika ikoko mobvumirwa zvamuri kufunga. You convince the committees and the organs of the party at the conference, at the deliberation stage. Don't come and try to countermand what the resolution of the party has done already. It's not ethical, it's wrong practice. It's being deviant from the ethos of majority organization and proper corporate governance in any situation. So that view is not being entertained by the rank and file membership. There are few malcontents who have their own agendas, and it is associated with this drive to try to turn the president into a lame duck. And most of them are in this, no, not of them, a few of them. There's a sprinkling of them who are in the capital. I can assure you, the party called political commissar, Comrade Machacha, together with the national security of the party, and under the aegis of the chairman of the party, they are dealing with that situation. This is a situation of malcontents who want to force themselves upon the party. They even had the temerity to try to become spokesperson of the party. Ndakanga ndakuitirwa basa nempengo yekuharare vakupa ma-press statements on behalf of the party kuti zvinoreve chakati muparty. Inini ndiri pano ndakati kangara ndatoona basa rangu ratorwa nevanhu vanongomhanya kunge benzi rapiwa pito parufu risingazivi kuti rinoridzwa papi. I scoff at them for trying to save my job. I love it. I like it, and I'll jealously defend it. Ngavambondisiyirawo basa rangu saspokesperson sezvandiri kuita nhasi. So the rank and file people listen to the spokesperson. Ndini ndakapiwa basa iroro, not to these malcontents masquerading as pseudo-revolutionaries. Yevasingazivi. By the way, the National Political Commissar left Fletcher as a young man in 75. We trained in Morogoro. I trained in Mozambique. We fought together from the beginning of the war. We were the second batch to be deployed by ZANU forces after ZIPRA had started the war. He has fought at the front. He is also among the first ones to be the graduates of Chitepo College in Mozambique, comrade Machachi. Then afterwards, he also came back to the front as a sectorial commander. He knows kupandukiwa kwese kunoitwa mupati, because even some of the people who may have fallen by the wayside during the course of the revolution, they were our colleagues. They were my friends, all of them. I know them, most of them, I know them. But when it came to their lackluster performance, particularly during the Geneva conference when we were routed militarily by the Rhodesians, and Smith walked out of the conference and told everyone, I didn't roll up the battlefield. No, I can't waste my time. I have a country to run, because we had been pushed back because of ill-advised deployment of huge numbers under the auspices of the Ashanti military leadership. So their military failure is the one which made them become redundant. And Sambora Machel says, I can't work with them, I'll go back to Tongogara, because Tongogara had come back from jail. And Tongogara makes a difference. When next time we're at Lancaster House talking with Ian Smith, Peter Walls thinks he can do what he did in 1976 to Geneva. He deployed his army headlong into surprise attacks by ZANU forces. And you know the battles of Mapai, you know the battles of Mavonda. He was licked by ZANU forces, and Walls had to be dispatched by the British to London. The game is up, Maparara, Rhodesians. So this is your political commissar. We are very confident that this choice by the president, building upon his historical experience at the war front, and he went to school again after the war, he is going to handle this situation of malcontents, and he put them in place. And already the signs are there. Disciplinary action is being taken against them. So efforts by Harare province to try to divide the leadership of the party are coming to naught, which brings me to another milestone, which is the cohesiveness of the ZANU PF leadership. You read a lot. There is now, I don't know, You see, when people have not been properly to school, sometimes they have an ambition to talk about things which are beyond their competence. It is a psychological condition. I'm trying to read. I'll give you the psychological condition where an uninformed person tries to master complicated things which are beyond his capacity. This is what we are seeing about Zimbabwe social media. People who can't even spell their names properly, they are broadcasting. achitaura achiwawata pabroadcasting. They can't even kumutaurira kuti zita rako perengera izvozvi anototadza kana kuperengera. Is hardly literate. But because of the advent of social media, everybody has become a broadcaster. Nezvimbwa mupengo zvatove mabroadcaster. Yowe muda kudivide party yedu. Why do you want to speak for our vice president when he himself is there in the maakutomba kumba vice president kuti muite zvamunoda imi naye muchimuita zvakazoti anonzi ana kerina mujati ani vamwe vacho ana zvima broadcast station zvimwe all over the show zvisina kana nobody follows them except kutaura vachiita mahongera. Even my press conference today was being interpreted in apocalyptic terms. Anziri kuenda kunotaura zvimwe zvikuru zvakazoti ndii neZANU PF nechii handisini muridzi wepata anouya kuzotaura zvinhu zvakadaiwo. Mnangagwa ini ndine mvumo yekutaura zvatiri kutaura pano zvekuti pati yavo iri kusenza sei, Mnangagwa vari kusei, ikonomi iri kufamba sei. ndo basa no mandate yangu. So by the same token, I advise you not to listen to those idiots. They are hallucinating because they may wish kutidai chakati chaitika. Therefore I wish it, therefore it is, therefore it is happened. Hakuna zvakadaro. ZANU PF, the party is united. The Politburo is working for the things which I've talked to you about, and it is delivering the prosperity which the people of Zimbabwe do want. I have another list of milestones. I had to put them in context, which I would like to. I talked about the steel. I talked about the power generation, which we now have. And the good news is, with the rains coming up into the north, more and more Kariba power will be generated. But the advent of a steel industry and its demand for power has made it now viable for private companies to start looking at investing in steel production and in power production. So the glorious occasion of the President of Zimbabwe in Wanke last week, commissioning an $800 million power station built without a cent from the exchequer. It's built by what is called risk money. Our investor akafoira imhosva yake, hakuna chikwereti chichadzoka kwamuri kunzi endai muzopeya vana vemuZimbabwe because ndakafeira kuvaka power station isina kuzosenza. This is risk capital. It is the same with Manizi. I contrast because I was at the Steel Association conference with the president where he invited the chairman of Tsingshan to come and address the Zimbabwean steel players. He was special guest of the president. If Manizi plant fails, hakuna recourse to the exchequer of the Zimbabwe government. It is at the risk of the investor. This is something which you need to take seriously. Now the economy of Zimbabwe is beginning to be driven by risk capital, which says, Mnangagwa in open for business. I can put my money, and over a certain period of time, I will reap profit, which is the price of money. The price of money. It's just such a marine mtengo. In Finance 101, the price of money is called the profit. So Mnangagwa have made the profitability of Zimbabwean investments so lucrative to some of the best investors in the world. And they are bringing money at risk, their own money. So this is another milestone in the development of this country. I have nothing against Mtuli Nube championing, debt reschedule with the African Development Bank. It's a good thing to have more resources to bring into our country. Maybe the ADB can, I don't know how it can divest itself after the American sanctions, because by law it is not allowed to help Zimbabwe, even if there is talk successful. So I tend to see a difference between what the bureaucrats, our technocrats are doing, and the reality of American congressional politics. I don't know, it may be. So Mnangagwa has not packed the economy of this country like Mugabe did, which Namasa spent 10 years negotiating the World Bank, ADB, because ADB is part of the World Bank system. In the meantime, the economy is packed, hoping, there's an Irish player, the playwright, Simon Beckett. He says, waiting for Godot, which basically was waiting for God. You can wait for God, hoping that things. Mnangagwa does not do that. He goes another way, which is to attract risk capital. And the milestone is what has happened at Manise. The milestone is at what happened in Hwange, where Hwange has become full-fledged hotbed of power generation, including coal. And investment is now pouring in billions, in hundreds of millions into Hwange. So we are an economy which is now being driven like what other most economies in the world do. They are not reliant on World Bank money or IMF. They are reliant on private risk capital, which is 90 trillion US dollars available on the global market. The World Bank system only gives you 6 to 9 trillion on a good day. So Mnangagwa anoziva kwekuenda kunotsvaga mari. Kana uda kuenda kunotsvaga majiri, rega kuenda kuteedza sango rese, enda kune jiri, kune mizhanji. Ndokwaunoya nemazhanji. Haikona kana kuti ongogara uchiti zvichauya pano. So this is another milestone of the president notching up the admiration and support and commitment of private risk capital to come and drive the Zimbabwean economy. This is a good thing. And we had another diplomatic coup in 2024. For years, the West, which feels that it has got a writ, a post-colonial writ over African institutions, they had said Zimbabwe to no Iburitsa Musada. You remember we're being trundled into the SADC tribunal court. Tichitongwa nedare risusu mambo akutongwa nedare raakaronga iye dare rake raakutonga mambo. We pulled out of SADC because it was being abused. But there is a turn of events. 2024, Zimbabwe is chairman of SADC. The regional group has come of age. It has fended off international interference into its affairs. So this is a big achievement. Mese muri chairman, a president. Vakanditaura kuti pandoita press conference vega vega taurira mareporters kuti mese muri chairman eSADC kozi ndehwavo. Chavainacho ndechenyu. This is a singular achievement by Zimbabwe. Our chairman, in face of concerted resistance by the West, who do not want our president to become chairman. Vakamuvhira achiri muhondo vachimuvhima vakamutadza, vakamuenda mujere vakamuvhima vakamutadza, vakamuvhima comrades zvakare kuMozambique vakamutadza, vakamuti haafaniri kutonga muZimbabwe vakatadza. 2017 akazopedzisira pachigara ipapo zvakanzi apagare pachigara ipapo tinotomubvisa chete Mnangagwa. Nhasi vakati kangara varipo pachigaro ipapo, rambai muripo chef. Zimbabwe inokudai, vanhu veZANU PF vanokudai, rambai muri machigaro chenyu. So the SADC chairman is one of the other milestones which we marked this year, and the party, of course, you saw the organization, the unit of the party at the party conference. It's a big success. Tarisai on the political landscape. Watch the political landscape. Look for any activity with all those other parties. A lot of people, you are blind. You can't see any activity. Cannot have been blinded by the light. No, you have not been blinded by the light. They simply ceased to exist in an organizational format. You hear occasional statements from them as individuals, as solo players. Music is best done when it is an orchestra. Yes, there may be individual talented musicians playing one instrument, But it's very difficult to achieve my hits, my popular songs are not put up a hit parade with one person playing the instrument. It's better it is a group or an orchestra. When the orchestra is churning out lucid tunes about where Zimbabwe should go, there's deafening silence from the opposition. So the milestone is basically that ZANU PF reigns supreme on the political stage. And it is reigning supreme because of the absence of any contestation. And remember, we like democracy. They are legitimately allowed to organize. Kukoniwa kwawo haisi mhosva yeZANU PF. And harisi basa redu kuti vaende kudzidzisa kuti vangaite politics. We are not in the business of propping up our opposition. Even if we have got all the competencies within our party, we can't create or sustain our opposition. So the unit of the party from grassroots, musangano kumasero uripo, ma-organs ese ariko. Izozvi, they are busy working to implement the slogan 2030 on the ground. Even muri panapa muchiteerera hangu inini so kuzasuku ma-party chairman, ma-party structures ari kutenderera nyika yese achitaura kuti takata Mnangagwa 2030 do resolution yenyu. And they are also along the way working to convince the electorate, because they have to convince the electorate. It doesn't come from ZANU PF, the decision year 2030 with President Vasodzoka. It has come from the electorate to referendum. So we are busy working with the people on the ground to make sure that this is a party which is united, which is cohesive. So 2024 ZANU PF comes solid in the work of discharging its mission for the Zimbabwe people, for the Zimbabwe revolution. That's the director. I try to rely on memory. Nasa ndongenda oyane bepa I could just among and of course our diplomacy. I told you about SADC. Our relations with all our neighbors are very good. South Africa, we went through an election. We are happy with the outcome. Our relations in South Africa are very solid. We are even now looking at cooperation in the steel sector, because our steel sector is more advanced than theirs. Yeah, I was told on good record by somebody who comes from a steel producing country, which is the best in the world, and from the foremost cradle of German steel industry in Dortmund. He's an old comrade from the war, a German guy who is also a friend of the president. So he still comes back, but he still comes back. He's old now, retired. He visited Masini's steel plant. You can see nothing in Europe compares to what Zimbabwe has done in Kamanizi. There was the horizontal integration of the steel plant and the vertical integration of the steel plant, and absolutely no emissions. The steam and the smoke is captured to produce a 70-megawatt power station in place, and the water is recycled before it is gone back to the Winyati River. He says there's nothing like this in Europe in terms of kugona kwa Mnangagwa ikoko kutora technology kutsvaga investor pamandiriri kuisa steel plant yekuti even vari kuEurope they come and bow in consternation kuti mana zvaitwa neZimbabwe here izvi kugona ikoko. And along the way, of course, our steel is cheaper because the iron ore is nearby, the coking coal is nearby, the chrome is nearby. Those are the alloys which make steel. So there is, in South Africa, an excitement by the South African steel sector, those who are in the downstream industry. Kutakunotora steel yemandirire pamusoro ours is virgin high quality steel, which they may not be getting at home, and the prices at home are higher than ours. So taimbozvitaura kuti Zimbabwe ichadzoka, hapana chinhu chinodzosesa nyika steel. And because South Africa, I want out Zimbabwe is still, we are working closely together to make sure that we also become, as a region, a steel player. And we are hoping that the elections in Mozambique get resolved. The date is getting close now. That the winner will be finally declared, and that if there are disgruntlements anywhere, the Mozambican political system will accommodate and resolve. And we are very happy that 3-4 days ago, President Lorenzo from Angola was in South Africa, and he called upon South Africa as a regional power, as our regional power. Tinayo Monyared region, Bingayedu Tinayo, South Africa. They called upon President Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of Angola, to say, use your influence to stop the charade of political violence which is threatening the constitutional order in Mozambique. And what is interesting in President Lorenzo's statement is that he had just come from a meeting with President Biden, the outgoing president of the United States. So we can only read between the lines of diplomacy that the call by President Lorenzo also has the support of the big power, which is America. Because they tend, it's not net America, they are the elephant in the room. If they shake their body in a certain manner, you get bruised, along the way. So I hope that this proposition by Angola to have South Africa help us resolve the situation in Mozambique pulls through. We are landlocked. We are all dependent on the ports of Beira. So this is yet another aspect of his diplomacy, where he's being called in all sorts of conferences, our president, by respected peers from across the globe. And his star keeps rising. The President Mnangagwa is a good statesman, he's a rare caliber statesman. He knows what he's doing. And Zimbabwe is now under the control, under the helmsman of a leader who is visionary, who is intellectually well ahead of his peers, who is unequaled at present on the national stage. So ZANU PF is right in Gawarembari. There's a slogan, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. On that good note, Mnangagwa, there's nothing to fix. And he has had a bumper year of achievements, and we are happy that through him, on his behalf, we convey a happy coming Christmas to you, the best of the New Year holidays, and come 2025, more of the development dividend, which our president has become legendary associated with. And we call upon the Zimbabwe people to unite behind him to make sure that we continue to notch up deliveries in our economy. We must poise our country to become a player in the Africa Free Trade area. And with steel as one of our main products, we are assured of a prominent role in the African Free Trade area. And that defeats going back to the future of a country which ruled an empire from the Atlantic to the Indian Ocean at its heyday with the Wanamitapas. I thank you.
Are there any questions?
And we entertain any questions in any direction. Hatina chatinonyanya kuvhunza hedu kupindura. Handisi kukunzwa vadai wataurisi. Nzeve dzangu dzakuchembera kaona dzakamborohwa futi nemabhuzi tiri muhondo. Interfere isusu manje with ZANU PF. Is that the allegation? Look, we have respect of the sovereignty of our neighbors. Their electoral processes they are preserved. How they run their elections is up to them. Definitely, if we interfered, the BDP in Zimbabwe may not have, in Botswana could have lost. And you also see the relationship between our president and the new president, Boko. It's like they've been comrades forever. It's the same relationship which enjoyed with Masisi. It's because our president respects the will of a sovereign country to choose who they are. Who are we? Botswana. No. The duty of the liberation movement in those countries is to win power. So they must work hard to win power. That is also our duty. Our mission as ZANU PF is to win power. But if you fail as a revolutionary party like UNIP, fail, we can't come to your rescue and say, because I am Borima Shamwari. No, we don't do that. So the allegation that we interfere to try to have, to anoint as a substitute of the voters in the various countries, not ipo pano pachibuku house. Do paakuno vota ku South Africa, paakuno vota kuna Rwanda. The Chibuku is now, Chibuku House is voting in Maputo. Chibuku is voting in Dar es Salaam. You are giving us the capabilities of an empire which even the British could not sustain. And we don't have. Simply by dint of capacity, we don't have the capabilities to do what you are saying. Atina, because the sovereign will of that people in their respective country is much larger than ZANU PF. So even if we had the intention, paniyayo tiringomwa atigone kuti tizvare because vanhu venyika idzodzo vanozviitira zvavanodawo zvara vana vavo government. So we don't have the capability. Secondly, we are former liberation movement. We're in the trenches together. Our enemies were the same. Our enemies continued to be the same. Our enemies are still the same. Our enemies will be in future the same. The countries which make those accusations are the ones which we were fighting for again in the past. Because they have this nostalgia that we have to keep Southern Africa under our control. Because it has got very precious 12 to 20 minerals which are crucial to modern human development. So they want to control us. So naturally, as allies, we share notes about how we can counteract the enemy. And because we succeed in sharing notes by the results which we are living, which come out of elections, they start being angry at our success. These are people who are miffed at the success of the former national liberations, cooperate in the statecraft of maintaining the military, the political supremacy which was accorded by their people, which is being challenged by these countries. So we cooperate at Zimbabwe. Very soon we have a meeting of the former liberation movements in South Africa. We cooperate, and when we cooperate, we exchange notes. But that's how humanity progresses. We work as a collective people of the common cause. So, cannot we produce certain company with we not cooperate. Because shared knowledge means you can go far. So yes, we don't apologize for sharing our experiences as liberation movements to stave off the encroachments of those who used to rule us. But to say that we are interfering, that accusation should be coming from those countries themselves. But I have not heard those countries, except some people who are sponsored on behalf of the West, NGOs who are complaining about that. It doesn't, the complaints don't come from the official parties of those guys. The Zambian party has never complained at the official level, at the president's level. Our relations are very good about Zimbabwe. Namibia has not complained about that. BDP lost with the new party. They won from President Bob. He hasn't complained about it. So Arugu chairman Dian, chi chako chi pamuchato wedhongi nebere iwe wakuda kuchairman nenyaya dzekuti tinopindurana mupolitics. It's just historical solidarity with fellow liberation movements, where we exchange notes about how to stave off the encroachments of those who used to rule us. By the way, there is an organization called NATO of peer countries who share experiences, even going to war in Ukraine, as countries, as a collective, to fight for a political cause. We never go for aggression against another. We defend ourselves. So if America has got a huge budget for democratic governance in other countries, if you are lazy enough and you are not creative enough about trying to make your own money the hard way, you can always go to a certain embassy and say to them, ndakavenga ZANU PF, unotobvowane kachimeduke mariko, for just going to declare your hatred of ZANU PF and your inclination to fight ZANU PF through the media by hallucinating divisions in ZANU PF which don't exist. You get money for that. But we know, no basara my countries here. They have huge budgets to interfere in other countries. We don't have that capacity. So we don't have the capacity. We have no intention. Yes, we cooperate with our former liberation movements, but we don't interfere. We don't decide elections in the neighboring countries. You understand? So that person is just mischief by NGOs which work for certain masters, and they failed to deliver an electoral victory despite the huge budgets which are allocated to them in the sub-region. They failed to deliver an electoral victory. So out of the frustration of failing to deliver pro-Western regimes, they are accused that we are interfering. Varohwa ndiye anochema. Kubongomora kwevanhu varohwa hatingakuteedzi, isa hatidaro. Tinosenza zvakanaka nehama dzedu dzatakanga tichirwa nadzo hondo mazuva ehondo. There's another milestone which I may have overlooked, which might Yes. So I have another special announcement. We have a special Politburo meeting coming on the 19th of December. ZANU PF headquarters. This is an announcement from the Acting Secretary General, Comrade Advocate Jacob Mutende. So, breaking news. At 2 p.m. The time is 2 p.m. Momvuns.
Are there more questions?
I think that belies that we have done what we were supposed to do for the day. I'm very grateful that you are here. Even on the eve of the Christmas holidays, you decided to come to be part of the permanent Zimbabwe revolution. It's because you are enamored to what ZANU PF is doing as a political party for the benefit of the people of Zimbabwe. You respect my team with the information and publicity department. But most important, your presence belies an appreciation of the good work which our president is doing. And we just gave you a snippet of the major milestones of our party in terms of political unity, in terms of political programs, in terms of fighting hunger, in terms of pushing the development agenda for Zimbabwe towards 2030. This is what this meeting was all about. At the end of the year, today we've been remiss. I still owe you the trip to Manisa. But now it's more exciting because if I had taken you earlier, it was job in progress. Now you can go and see Mashura and his relatives. So in the new year, we will definitely have one of the press conferences like this at Manisa, will supply the bus. The company will host you. Hetman is remind me in the first quarter of 2025. Without fail. Thank you so much.